That's all right. I want to talk a little bit about the guild. Uh, there's one thing I have come to realize, or not that I completely couldn't see it, but having it in a way in which you can articulate it somewhat concisely is useful. Uh, and like over the last few seasons, I've come to realize that the guild is very much a self-initiation school. Um, First and foremost, I already know a lot of people like the idea of self-initiation, and to be honest, most of that comes from the position that people are looking at this spiritual stuff from. So, I'm spiritual, not religious. Okay, well, cool. What that usually ends up boiling down to is a religion of me. Um, it's neither here nor there, but I do understand why people are interested in self-initiation if that's the premises they're coming from. But um, it is most certainly what I am doing. Um, it's not like I don't give the caveats out, but I'm gonna give some more caveats out. Cause I hate to not be the nigga that told you if I could have. Your whole idea of what self-initiation is will be disrupted. Your whole idea of what self is will be disrupted. And it's necessary. This shit is not easy. It's not quick. Like when I say not easy and not quick, whatever you thought, just double it. Just double it. Just so. But you're not gonna do it. You're gonna hear me say it. Oh well, think about how you feel about it. No, it's fine. Look a little bit on what self-initiation is. All right, because what's popular these days, especially here in the West, is Order of the Golden Dawn. So self-initiating yourself into Order of the Golden Dawn. And what people miss with that, well, there's a lot they miss, so I won't go through all that. But the more salient points that need to be grabbed are that regardless of the procedure that they give you for the self-initiation, the most crucial part is seeing through the lens of the metaphysics. The Order of the Golden Dawn is using a particular metaphysical framing. And if you're not using that lens, especially when you're doing the steps, if you will, if you're not using that lens, it's not going to hit. It's not going to hit the way it's supposed to. An initiation process, because it's a process, there's a certain path down which they're guiding you through for a purpose. The purpose is for the self-transformation, for you to change. I remember Panic talked about it one time. He's like, okay, look, someone's got an initiation process and, they hold a gun to your head. And for Theo Huxtable, this is like, oh no, what's going on? This is crazy. Like, oh shit, I'm different after that. But for little Pookie on the block who been, pushing weight for years, it's like, nigga, what? This is Tuesday. So that don't move him. That didn't shift him. That didn't change him. The initiation process is supposed to change you. And what I find consistently is people are interested in the idea of change insofar as they don't have to change too much. They're interested in the idea of change, the benefits of change, but not interested in the struggle, in the strife, in the discomfort, in the having to do things you don't want to do. And that's crucial to the process. See, me personally, I'm not going to give you a bunch of things you necessarily don't want to do. You already got those. You already know the things you don't want to do. I'm going to go ahead and point you over in that direction. And when I say this is a self-initiation school, it's not just school in the sense of sit, listen, now I learn. Because I sure as hell ain't trying to give you a test, bro. In fact, I really prefer you start to cultivate the capacity to test your own understanding. And that's very rarely something you can do by just sitting quietly and listening. So that's why part of the guild is the community aspect. And you'd be surprised how much that's all motherfuckers was really looking for. Look, you'd be surprised, I know I was surprised. Fuck you talking about? So you'll get that, but that's the more crucial part. Because look, man, for hundreds of thousands of years, these initiation processes were done in the context of a community, in the context of a tradition, in the context of a culture that came with a specific language. See, it's not just the steps. Self-initiation ain't the steps. But I get it. In the West, our imagination on what these things are is really shaped by the whole Crowley crew and Blavatsky crew, and most of them are deeply part of the ceremonial tradition. So where what it is they're doing is accented by a particular ceremony you walk through in the physical world. And it's not to say those things aren't there at all. It's that, look, you're confusing the residue with the actual initial solvent. Initial solvent, right? But it makes sense. Anyways, so look, I got salt water. There's my initial solvent. And then you boil it down and you have salt left in the pot as a residue. So it's not just that salt is the point. Well, no, it's the end result of the entire process. You miss the salt water, you miss the heat, you miss the dish, you miss the time. The salt is just the end residue. So that's one thing, because look, those traditions come with a system, and you can't just grab the procedure out without the context of the system. That's why in the guild, I'm walking you through not only the fundamentals of the system, but starting to guide you along the path to start to build one out. The self-initiation is not easier. It's not easier. Like, if you want easy, simple, go initiate into someone's tradition. Go immerse yourself in that. That's what you're asking for. Because look, they already got everything set up. Self-initiation is like building a ship while you're on the ocean in a storm. It's not to say it can't be done, because it most certainly can, but it's not going to be easy and quick and simple. More especially if you haven't started to dedicate your life to study and research. So you watch YouTube videos. That's not enough. That's not enough. Especially if you haven't made yourself considerably familiar with words in your own language, let alone all this other shit motherfuckers are trying to grab from some other language you don't speak. So it's not difficult because I want to make it difficult. It's difficult because it is. I swear, every time you go live, I'll be having hella time on my hands. Just got off work a few minutes ago. Oh, look, man. Look, I'm glad you chose to check it out while you got some time on your hands. Make sure you use some other good stuff for that. Not just the Instagram reels, bro. I'm telling you. Yeah, the guild is very much a self-initiation school. It's very much a self-initiation school. And it's not about you coming so that I tell you what to do. Because look, if you wanted someone to tell you what to do, like I said, go initiate into somebody's system. I'm here to help cultivate your understanding of what the fuck you're doing at all. Because when you clearly understand what you're doing, the landscape of available options, what is salient to you, will shift. Why? Because what you are shifted. And then what you need to do will be obvious. That's the only way you're going to grow beyond me, which is supposed to be the fucking point. not to become my follower, not to become little me. Get the fuck out of here. You can't even do me. It's best you do you. And that's what I want to cultivate. What do you mean, do you? Well, what is you? That's the crux. That's the crux of this, especially today. And when I say especially today, it's not because of the date and the time of the day and what the planets are doing in outer space. Like, no. It's the premises of thinking of the culture that you're in. You cannot escape the culture. It is in your traditions, your language. It is in the communities you already have, regardless of whether or not you like to think, I'm the person who's different from the community and I stand outside of it. Well, you're only different in comparison to what's considered normal. What's considered normal comes directly from the culture. So you're not going to be that different. You're only going to be different in comparison to the culture. There's no different from nowhere. Context, the details, they make all the difference. There's no set of things to do because they're going to hit differently. Look, back in the time when everybody had the same culture and community in one place, we could give a set of things to do because everybody in the community was looking at the world a certain way. So look, You look at the yogis who worship Shiva covering in ashes and dealing with crematories and burial grounds and things like that. Well, in that culture, all of those places are forbidden. They're considered dirty and terrible. And so growing up in that culture, you're shaped a certain way. And to go through that particular rite, you have to change in a very specific way to get to the end goal of that rite. So this is why I say, based on the time and place we are in today, there's a specific direction you need to go. See, fuck discipline. You need direction. You need to know where you're going, why you're going. And it's not something I can just give you in the words of our culture, because our culture, this Western physicalist culture, is not conducive to what you're trying to do. So not only do you need to see what you're trying to do, you actually need to see why the place you're coming from is not conducive. And you can't just use that. So sometimes people will think, oh, I'm going to get in here and he's going to tell me the secrets of biology. He's going to tell me the secrets of molecular chemistry and how to shift the dark matter vibration so that the Schumann resonance loves you. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, look, just the simple fact that you brought all that shit in your pocket is a reflection of the culture you're coming from. These ancient traditions were not doing science as you know it. They were not doing what the natural sciences are doing. This is not about your nervous system of your body. This is not about the nervous system of your body, your cellular metabolism, cranial nerves, oil in your spine. Fuck. And so, out the gate, that's not what this is. As a matter of fact, that shit is very wrong for specific reasons. It's a particular metaphysics. It's physicalism. It's materialism. And that metaphysics is made not to have a meta. It stands in the position where it's like, look, it's called naturalism. In philosophical and scientific circles today, it's called naturalism. But what makes naturalism is the category they've created called supernatural. This is why the history is important, specifically the history of Europe, because the culture we're living in today is a direct result of the history of Europe. The idea of naturalism only comes around in the 19th century, the 1800s. And the only way it could stabilize itself is by creating another category called supernatural and juxtaposing itself against that. Looking at all the other practices and spiritual traditions of the world and claiming that, well, these other people are doing something supernatural and they're not doing what we're doing. This is why that scientific worldview kind of positions itself to have this rational, clear, and neutral view. but it's not neutral. There's no such thing as a neutral view. You can't have a view from nowhere. Every view is shaped by the context from which you're looking. So it's a very specific view that the natural sciences are taking. And that view is inculcated in the culture we live in today. This is why you tell somebody this shit is your nervous system and their ears peak up. Because biology. Oh yeah, biology. Oh, motherfuckers will think this is some kind of way to control the physical world. Why? That's part of the culture. That's part of the cultural narrative. This work isn't about controlling the physical world. Like, look, even if you could control it, what the fuck make you think you fit to do that? That's why we don't give babies guns. Because they're not fit to wield it. What makes you think if you could wield control of the physical world, you fit to do it? I'm being rhetorical. It's naive arrogance is what it is. But that's the history of Europe, naive arrogance. It's part of what you inherit here in the Western culture. That colonizer mindset. Looking back at the people of the past and thinking to yourself, well, we now know the things they didn't know. They were superstitious and didn't really get it. And now we have the real knowledge. We understand the truth of the matter. As opposed to comprehending that it's not that you now understand the truth. You've lost the depth of your perception. You've lost the depth of the perception that they used to have. Not only have you lost it, but you're hyper-focused on the shallows. Part of what you have to go through in the guild is learning to break that presupposition. Learning to break that tendency. And it's supposed, like, after it starts to break, you're supposed to feel like, what the fuck do I have now? Good. Because that's a good fucking question and you need to answer it. Because if you have no answer for it, then maybe really, it's just physicalism for you. If I take all the descriptions of the physical world out of your hand and you say you have nothing, well then all that's real for you is what's physical. Regardless of whether or not you say, oh, the physical world is an illusion. It's a simulation. You love that one, right? It's a simulation. You can't start with confidence. This isn't a program to help you build your confidence. You need clarity and consistency. You need clarity and consistency. That's what's going to grow confidence. You don't just start with confidence out the gate. You have to seek clarity. And you're only going to be able to do that when you're honest with yourself about the places in which you're not clear. If you can't be honest with yourself where you're not clear, so here's an example of not being honest with yourself where you're not clear. Somebody says something. You don't understand what they said. So you keep listening. Because maybe you'll get the context clues, right? They keep going and it just gets more confusing. And then you don't say anything because you don't want to look stupid. Or here's another one. Look, you ask a question, they give you an answer and you don't want to look. You already felt stupid asking the question. Not understanding the answer makes you feel even more stupid. So you just, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. No, that makes sense now. But it doesn't and you're lying. Like, look, right, there's a dialogical process that has to go on with these things. Most people, and I know no one wants to think I'm talking about them. Okay, cool. Most people don't think about stuff until they're speaking about it. Most people do not think about things, so they speak about it. And look, thinking is difficult. It's not a passive process. It's an active process. Most people do not think about things until they're speaking about it. Which is why I encourage people in the guild to speak, which is why I try and, give space for, look, ask a stupid question. But on the other side of that is your responsibility to yourself to actually study, to actually be curious about what you don't understand. See, when you're scared to look dumb, when you're scared to look like you don't know, you're not curious about what you don't understand. You'll avoid it outright. you'll avoid it. It's not to say it's bad to be ignorant. It's not a good and bad thing. There's different levels to ignorance. There's necessary ignorance, which comes with being born. Just most people are in the realm of necessary ignorance. You can't know everything. But to get to a place where you're engaging with your own ignorance, you have to get through the willful ignorance. So you're looking at the ignorance and you're traversing it, and you eventually get to a place where you can reach the inevitability of your own ignorance. So you can wield your own ignorance to move yourself forward. But hearing it out loud is a different story. It sounds really good in my head, but hearing it, that's the point. Yeah, it sounds really good in my head, but hearing it out loud is a different story. Exactly. And look, part of that, people aren't used to listening to themselves. People aren't used to listening to themselves. That's something I found out quick in the consultations. It's like, look, especially the first call, it's like, okay, this is a discovery call. I need you to speak. I need to see what's in you. Because I can't tell you where we're going to go or what's going to happen if I don't know where you're at. So I spend most of the time in the first call listening. And I'm like, okay, go back and listen to the call. Go back and listen to yourself. And people routinely, I hated listening to myself. I hated hearing my voice. I hate how I speak. I hate what I said. And so with all that about your own words, you don't listen to yourself. And so that's usually why it won't come about until you actually start speaking. And then you have to hear, oh, did I just say that? Oh, shit. Because you're not used to listening to yourself. Look, I'm telling you, if you can't listen to yourself, you're not going to catch the more subtle messages that are at a deeper resolution than your own thinking, your own feelings. Motherfuckers will tell you to go within, but I tell you what, that's not the body. It's not the body. Look, if that was the body, then what you are is the body. You're looking in the wrong direction. I'm talking too much, my shit keep going out. So this is what I mean about direction, the guidance. The guild is about guidance. Because there's barely anything I talk about in the guild that I haven't gone over in the videos that are free. But your issue isn't you don't have a particular information. Your issue is your interpretation of it. Your understanding how to look at it. The issue isn't what you think, it's how you think. That's what's got to change. And that's only going to change when what you is shifts. Sitting up here just crying for other people's attention so maybe they'll notice you. You don't even know what to do when you get noticed, right? You just don't want to admit how lonely and isolated you feel, but that's okay. You got to look at it in order to get through it. There's no technique to get around what you don't want to do, what you don't want to see, what you don't want to feel. The only way through is through. The only way through is through. The only way through is through. The self-initiation school, it's about learning and understanding initiation. Because look, initiation ain't even the work. Initiation ain't even, look, you ain't in the house because you initiated. You wiping your feet at the door. If you're impressed with yourself for finding the door, look, you gonna stick right there and act like you in the house while you at the doormat. You gotta wipe your feet. You gotta clean them good. And you'd be surprised how caked on and nasty that dirt is. And that's just at the door. That's just at the door. See, our culture and tradition does not come with the tools to even find the door. So I get why you would be impressed with yourself for finding the door. But no. The initiation process is not just to get you to the door. It's to get you to wipe your feet and prepare yourself to enter. You're not getting in here with them shoes. What you mean? That's not even gatekeeping. But look, here's a better example. Because it's not just to keep you out until you're ready. It's that you will keep yourself out until you're ready. Like a scarecrow in a garden, right? The scarecrow isn't a fence. The scarecrow isn't a fence. what's keeping the critters out is their own fear of engaging the presence of the scarecrow. But an animal, but an animal that can fit themselves to that experience can move through it. Ain't worried about a scarecrow. See, that's what the initiation process is doing. It's a purification. It's making you fit to receive the thing that was always there. It's not about having a better life. It's not about feeling calm. Like, you want to feel calm? Go to the bar and get a drink. Go do some drugs. You'll feel calm. You want a better life? Figure out what you mean by better and go get that thing. But I tell you, you listen to people who have gone after the thing you want in physical life, they'll tell you it wasn't the thing. They'll tell you it's not enough. It's money. Look, I got the money and now there's still an emptiness. I gotta go to the beach, and once I'm at the beach and I'm sipping a drink on the beach, it's good, and you there, and it's great for like 30 minutes until the span of that little fantasy you imagine runs out. It's been about 3-4 hours on the beach. Your drink is done. It's getting hot, sand on everything, and your life is still going on. You got to the beach and it wasn't the thing. Look, it felt great, but it didn't fill the hole. It didn't fill the hole because it was never fit to. In Christianity, Christ talked about, drinking some water you drink and you never be thirsty again. You want to fill that hole. Spirituality is about how you're participating with the world. There's a place where your participation is necessary. Last thing, karma and dharma, right? Motherfuckers know the word karma, but they don't, look at the metaphysics it comes from. Karma is usually you could say the weight of the whole collection of choices and activity of the physical world, the friction of it against anything beyond the physical world. That's usually what you feel, that karma is the friction for change. But that's only half of it. There's dharma as well, and the dharma is how you're showing up. It's not to say karma isn't important, but dharma is equally important. As a matter of fact, if you're trying to understand what you need to do and how you need to move, dharma becomes more important. Dharma is how you're showing up, how you're participating. And so often people are showing up and participating based on what they want it to be, where they think it should go. And they're not playing their role. They're avoiding this and that. Like, no, you need to play the role. But I don't like this role. Look what happens to the character at the end. Who gives a fuck? Rhetorical question, right? You give a fuck. That's why it's an issue. But it's not about where the character ends up at the end. It's about playing the role. Is karma constrained by the physical in that sense? No, it's not. The physical is constrained by karma. It's opposite. It's the opposite. In fact, the manifestation of the physical is a result of that flow of karma. But not just the karma, the dharma as well. Look, the karma is the weight, but the dharma is how you show up to that weight. So the karma is like, look, here's how the script is going to go. The dharma is how you're playing the role. Well, I don't like this script because my character dies at the end and it don't look great. Fuck you. Play the role. Play the role. Play the role so bad you forget what you thought you were. Play the role. That's how you're participating. How you're participating. This is not about controlling and manipulating the physical world. Because once you really throw yourself into the role, you're not trying to control the script. Like, think about the Heath Ledger dude, right? Played the Joker so well, couldn't live his physical life no more. Like, look, I'm done. Like, I went so deep, I can't get out of it. Go that deep. Go deeper. Look, you talking self-initiation, especially you want to do this shit all on your own? Man, please, I ain't even pointed you deep enough yet. That naive arrogance, it's short-sighted. This work has always been about self-transformation, not transforming the world. See, that comes out of Europe. Whereas the philosophical schools were about self-transcendence and self-transformation, in the midst of cultivating your self-correction, now it becomes about controlling and manipulating the world. And it goes back into the Christian history, dude. Like, look, a lot of the enlightenment thinkers were coming from the presupposition of the fall from Christianity. So we fall from God's grace. And this is why we can no longer manipulate the world, but we no longer have dominion over the world. But we can rectify this. This is why you have these utopian type of ideas that come out of the West. Well, you think you get control of the physical world and now you can make it a perfect place. Oh man, if I could just control everything, I could just make it perfect. No. You miss the perfection that's already present, which is telling of where you're coming from in your perspective. This idea of controlling the physical world is like trying to control the script. Bitch, you're not the director. Everybody want to direct. Everybody want to direct. You're not the director. Play your fucking role. Play your fucking role. And stop treating it like you know how everything's gonna end up. Motherfuckers only know how shit gonna end up when they're trying to avoid an outcome they don't want. Or they trying to run towards an outcome you want. You have to get beyond what you want and what you don't want. They look different. They're the same thing. The two sides of the same coin. What you want and what you don't want. Two sides of the same coin. But you can't participate in reality that way. Because you're going to miss the third and deeper aspect, which is the realm of things you never could have imagined. What you want, something you can imagine. What you don't want, still something you can imagine. You have to be able to move beyond those things so you can participate in the realm of things you never could have imagined. Look, it can get better than you ever imagined. It can get worse than you ever imagined. That's where you need to be. See, that's the depth of participation with the world you have to be involved in. And if you sit here trying to check the script while you acting like you the director, no, you're not the director. Play your role. No break. You show up every day. You show up consistently. There's no break. There's no stop. That's why the community is helpful. That's why the community is helpful. I tell you what, bro. Look, fuck the information, man. You keep the cohorts. You keep the cohorts, man. Because this work is a lifetime's work. It's not some shit you can do over a few months or a year. It's a lifetime of work. It's a way of life. This isn't some end goal you reach. It's an open-ended quest. It's an open-ended quest. And so trying to track what step am I on? Nope, you're going to miss it. It's an open-ended quest. It's a way of life. I can't give you the whole guild in the Instagram live. So I'm about to get off here anyways. Welcome week is coming up. That's next week. And it's going to be the last season that I have at this price. I'm about to raise the price. So yeah, there's that. You guys have a wonderful evening. Thank you.